In the 1970s and 1980s, Deeper Life wasn't just a church, it was a movement. It preached absolute holiness in a way that felt fresh, intense, and revolutionary. Pastor Kumuyi, quiet but firm, introduced a disciplined Christianity Nigerians had never seen before. People called him the Holiness Professor or the Holiness Preacher. Members worshipped with a seriousness that made other churches look unserious or even worldly. No jewelry, no makeup, no TV, as at then, no trousers for women, no short skirts, no football, no parties, no quote worldly associations, no idle talk, no frivolous joy. Holiness meant separation from everything that looked like the world, and to many people it made sense then. Nigeria was facing economic collapse, moral anxiety, and spiritual confusion. Deeper Life offered structure, certainty, and a formula: live perfectly and God will bless you. Families joined in thousands. Students filled campus fellowships. Streets saw young people carrying big black Bibles, walking like soldiers of righteousness. In those early years, Deeper Life felt like a safe island in Nigeria's storm. But islands can also become, quote, prisons. The real test of a belief system is not in its doctrines, but in its children. The children born into Deeper Life didn't choose the church, they woke up in it. From day one, their world was regulated. Every hairstyle, every outfit, every hobby dissected by a moral microscope. They learned early that laughter could be, quote, too worldly, that boldness could be pride, that the TV in their neighbor's living room was a direct invitation to hell. To many parents, these restrictions were love. To many children, they became chains. At school, they were bullied as, quote, SU, Deeper Life children, the holy children. At home, they faced strict punishment for questioning anything. At church, they were told over and over that the world outside was dangerous, seductive, and burning, which is actually true. A generation grew up with a long list of no, but no real explanation of why. Their parents survived with it because they entered the church as adults. The children, however, were born into pressure they never asked for. For many, holiness became something they performed, not something they understood. One thing defined Deeper Life's connection to young people more than anything else: fear in quotes. Fear of hell, fear of missing the rapture, fear of sinning accidentally, fear of not being holy enough, fear of punishment, fear of questioning doctrine, fear of being seen as rebellious. The church saw fear as a guide. The children felt it as a prison. Many ex-Deeper Life members recount nightmares of rapture sermons, the dread of altar calls, the guilt of simply wanting to be children. For many, childhood wasn't playful, it was solemn. Spirituality became heavy and exhausting. Some became extremely obedient, but others cracked gently. Teenagers learned to double live: holiness in church, normalcy in school, not because they were evil or rebellious, but because their desires for freedom, identity, and expression were human. But Deeper Life wasn't built to understand those desires. In trying to produce perfect Christians, they produced some emotionally wounded adults who later fled and left the Deeper Life Church. In the 1990s and early 2000s, the world was changing. Technology, fashion, global media, youth culture, and internet freedom exploded. Deeper Life didn't change with it. While other churches adapted, allowing TV, higher education freedom, modern worship, creative expressions, Deeper Life held tight to its strict identity: the old guard, believed compromise would kill holiness in quotes. But the youths saw it differently. The church was becoming a relic. The tension grew quietly, then it snapped. One after the other, teenagers began leaving the church the moment they gained independence. Some left for Pentecostal churches with music and less pressure. Some abandoned organized religion entirely. Some walked away from Christianity. Whole youth departments emptied out gradually. Parents were confused, pastors were shocked, but the message was loud. The rules were too heavy for a generation raised in a fast-changing world. By the 2010s, the exodus became a conversation on social media. People who grew up in deeper life, now young adults, began telling their stories. Stories of guilt, stories of shame, stories of identity conflicts, stories of how they felt unprepared for real life after years of religious insulation. Others spoke about how the strict system suppressed creativity, self-esteem, and exploration. Some said they only learned confidence and self-expression after they left. Many argued that the church prepared them for heaven, but left them struggling on earth. And for the first time, Deeper Life youth realized what they experienced wasn't unique. It was systemic. It wasn't about individual parents being too strict. It was the structure of the church itself. This wave of testimonies formed a single narrative, quote, "We loved God, but we couldn't survive the system," end quote. Then something unexpected happened. Pastor Kumuyi, the founder of Deeper Life Church, began to soften. He allowed technology moderation. He addressed some extreme traditions of the past in the church. He encouraged education. He loosened some rigid interpretations. To many outsiders, this was progress, but inside the church, it sparked a mini war. The old Deeper Life members accused Pastor Kumuyi of compromise. They said he was, quote, "backsliding, bowing to modern pressure, or changing heaven's standard." Ironically, the founder was ready to modernize, but some people in his own system still resisted him. The church became divided between those who wanted progress and those who wanted the old holiness identity to remain untouched forever. But by this time, the youths who could have benefited from reform were already gone. Today, Deeper Life still exists, still disciplined, still passionate, but something is missing: a good number of its younger generation. Walk into many Deeper Life churches today, you see mostly older adults, elderly members, and a handful of children who may also leave once they grow older. The fire of the early years remains at the top, but at the bottom, the pipeline is relatively dry. The church didn't collapse, but it is aging rapidly. Nigeria's population is young, but Deeper Life is not. A movement that once shaped campuses now struggles to fill youth halls. A church that once attracted scholars and intellectuals now watches as young families migrate to more flexible churches. A structure built around separation now finds itself isolated, not from the world, but from the new generation it was supposed to raise. Deeper Life didn't set out to lose a generation. It set out to create a perfect one, but in its pursuit of purity, it overlooked something more important: humanity. Young people didn't run because they hated holiness. They ran because the system didn't give them space to grow, question, evolve, or even breathe. They wanted God without fear, faith without trauma, discipline without oppression, spirituality without shame, identity without suppression. And when they couldn't find the balance inside Deeper Life Church, they searched for it outside. This is how Deeper Life lost a generation. Not through sin, not through the world, not through rebellion, but through a battle between rigid tradition and a changing society. The truth is simple but painful. Most of the youths Deeper Life lost will likely never return. They've built new lives, new beliefs, new freedoms. Some still love God deeply, thank God for that, just not in the way Deeper Life taught them. Others have found healing in therapy, conversation, and community. Many are still deconstructing the worldview they inherited. But the story isn't hopeless. If Deeper Life truly wants a new generation, it must confront the legacy of fear, rigidity, and emotional pressure. It must understand that holiness without humanity becomes bondage, that discipline without flexibility becomes punishment, and that religion without empathy loses the people it intends to save. A church that once inspired millions could rise again, but only if it's willing to listen to the children it's lost. Because until then, the story remains the same. Deeper Life didn't just lose a generation, it slightly pushed them away. Thank you for joining us today. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you later.